You're glad of that, right? So it's time.
Whoa, it is time. Hey, that's an oldie but a goodie sign. It's time for a twin this week in the news. People that you may know, most of them you don't, who did something special. And that's what I report on. Today's topic is a gentleman named Jim Bodden. And I said, hey, Jim Bodden.
Who the heck is Jim Bodden?
Listen, well, I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
Who the heck is Jim?
Ed McMahon. Jim Bodden is a painter. No, wait a minute. Not the Van Gogh type of painter. The house painter type of painter. Jim loves painting houses. And Jim started his first painting company in 1990, maybe 28 years ago, to pay for his college when he was living in Hamilton, Ontario. So he's a Canadian. And he spent the next 4 years while at school painting houses part-time. In 1994, he moved way across Canada from Ontario to British Columbia, and he worked for a variety of companies, still doing what he loves, painting houses in his spare time. Then in 1998, Jim got the entrepreneurial bug, and he started Bodden Painting Company in Vancouver, British Columbia. And for the next 10 years, Jim built and ran a successful house painting business. All right, Frank, so what? Get to the point. I'm glad you asked me that.
Yeah, no, let me see. Your favorite statement is, shoot me now.
Yeah, okay. But in 1998, something happened that affected the whole world. It was the worldwide slowdown, and Jim started losing jobs that he used to win to other painters who were willing to work at a discount price just to stay in business. Sound familiar? Sounds familiar. Well, Jim, to his credit, did not want to join that rat race to the bottom of cutthroat prices. So he searched for ways to differentiate his painting company from all the other painting companies. Well, first thing that I thought of when I stopped reading at that point, I said, okay, he used a higher quality paints. Okay, everybody can say that. He cleaned up every day. No, all painters do that. He was bonded. He had insurance. No, you have to have that by law.
Walk the dog.
Oh, yeah, when he took a break, he would walk the dog. Okay, that's not what he did. So thinking about his industry, and here's where Jim's brilliance comes in. He realized that it normally took a single painter, which most painting companies were at that particular point, weeks to paint a house, because there's a lot of the tape and the cut and the windows and the paint and the mixing and the standing and the gum, the type of thing. You know what it is. Then Jim had his rebel, misfit, maverick moment. By the way, I used to call that the aha moment, but for a reason you'll hear later, I changed it. Jim had his rebel, misfit, maverick moment. Jim was convinced that he could differentiate himself by painting a customer's entire home in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard me right. One day instead of the normal weeks. To test his concept, Jim contacted a previous client who obviously already knew and trusted Jim, because Jim did a good job, and asked if they would be his pilot one-day painting project. And he assured this friend that the quality of the painting would not be compromised for the sake of speed. The guy says, hey, Jim, it's about time to change the color. Sure, do it. So Jim brought 6 of his people he knew in the painting business, and hired another contractor to bring 4 of their people to do the painting. He had 10 people start the painting when the customer went to work that morning. When the customer returned home, the whole house was painted to a high standard of quality. The reaction from the client was unbelievable. He says, wow. And he was looking for reasons to say, aha, this is why nobody does a one-day painting job. This is ridiculous. And he couldn't find anything. So Jim decided that he could scale his business with this new concept. So Jim spent the next 9 months. Now, again, you can see this guy doesn't think like the regular bull in a china shop. He spent the next 9 months developing systems and creating teams for his company, for his think big concept. And in April of 2009, which was now a year later, Jim changed the name of his company from Bodden Painting to One Day Painting.
Wow.
He advertised what he did. But Jim did not stop there. He was so excited about this new approach that he says, I can franchise this concept. He says, because he's got the systems. The guy was a plant. I don't know if he was an engineer or not in college in Ontario. And in the fall, so Jim spent the next 6 months, spent the next 6 months writing manuals for his franchisees. He submitted trademark applications. He implemented and paid for a nationwide, in that case, Canada booking system, and even went so far as securing a telephone number called 1888 Wow One Day. He had it. I mean, the guy was good. The guy was on his way to success. In the fall of 2009, again, he's doing it logically, Jim put ads in Entrepreneur magazine. That's where people go to find ideas. And Franchise Marketing magazine, but received little to no interest. The following year, he went and hired business brokers, okay? People who sell businesses. He says, well, maybe I'm just not doing it right. So he hired the professionals, but they showed little interest because his ads in those two popular magazines, which is what they would have done, failed. So why would they be interested in wasting their time? Very short-sighted on their part. Jim was frustrated. He says, what the hell did I do wrong? The concept works. I got the manual. He did everything that you would do to do what he wanted to do. The challenge became that even though I had a popular business concept that customers loved, One Day Paint, you go to work, come back, and when you're done, your house is done. I could not find suitable franchise owners to buy into my One Day Painting concept. But Jim did not give up his dream to franchise his One Day Painting business. He just didn't give up. But then serendipity hit. In July of 2010, now we're up to 2010. This is now over 2 years. Jim got a call from a prospect who was looking for someone to paint his house. This prospect, this person, had heard from a friend of his about this One Day Painting, where the painters show up on time in a clean van wearing clean uniforms and complete the painting job in just 1 day. And the guy says, yeah, give me an estimate. Well, Jim's estimate was no higher than the other painting contractors. So this guy who had contacted Jim hired Jim. The client went to work that morning, and when Jim came home at the end of the day, he was greeted by an immaculately, professionally painted house. The client was overwhelmed and very impressed. So Jim told him, yeah, you're like everybody else. He told him about his idea to franchise the business. And he said, but I'm having problems. And this new client said, wow, I was just thinking the same thing. Speed or quality is good, but speed and quality make for a wow. By the way, that client's name, talk about serendipity, was a gentleman named Brian Scudamore. Yes, that Brian, from a previous twin I did, he started a company called 1-800-GUT-JUNK.
All right.
It was in Vancouver. So Brian and Jim teamed up. In fact, Brian bought Jim's company.
Is that right?
They created Wow One Day Painting, and as they say, the rest is history.
Wow.
Today, Wow One Day Painting, a division of 1-800-GUT-JUNK, has 39 franchisees throughout Canada and the USA, and is well on their way to over $100 million in revenue. Not bad for a guy who went to college and still never wanted to give up his love of painting houses. Jim Bodden. So Small business lesson. Thinking about this, I said, wow. And then it hit me. You know what? Not every disruptor to an industry has to be the magnitude of an Uber, an Echo, or an iPhone. All right, that's Travis Kalanick, Bezos, and Steve Jobs. Most of the time, you can be the rebel, misfit, or maverick in your industry just by doing things at least as well, if not better, but doing it much faster. In Jim Bodden's case, he painted a house in 1/10 of the normal time with a high quality. There are many ways, regardless of what industry you're in, that you can maverick your industry. Pick one and do it. And gentlemen, that is my twin for today on Jim Bodden.
Interesting. Now, so he's franchised this one-day painting thing, huh?
Yeah. He has it throughout the U.S. and Canada. Yeah. And
Did you check to see if there's one in the Coachella Valley?
There isn't. No, I liked. He has some in California, but it's mostly up north.
Right.
And I think there's one in San Diego.
Yeah,
it costs about I look at $47,000 to $90,000 to franchise, but he has all the manuals, and it's
sure, business in the box, franchising. Well, good stuff.
But imagine now again, he would not be where he is today if this prospect called him out of the blue because he heard of it from a friend, and the prospect was so impressed when he came back from his junk business.
Mm-hmm.
That guy says, franchise, man, we can do this.
Right.
Now, and I just finished a twin for another project I'm working on. Her name is, matter of fact, it's a twin I did here called Nancy Lou. And Nancy Lou's concept was about luck, her small about luck. And the lesson she learned from her parents when she was a young girl in China, as a matter of fact, that the harder you work, the luckier you get. Jim never stopped working. Honest.
Interesting.
And he never gave up. Had he, who knows what happened today. Anyway, so that's my twin about Mr. Jim Bodden from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada.